smart card technology use and its evolution in this country is a very area of success for the country, and which is not only brought in various advantages to our country, but also has been a big source of motivation globally to the technology providers, to various governments, departments, because there are 2-3 things which are very, very unique to this exercise, which we undertook in this country somewhere beginning from somewhere in 2003, 2002, 2003. It all started with the problem of non-interoperability and the vendor lock-in by some governments in few states issuing driving licenses which were bind to a particular kind of technology, and other states were not able to read those chips, and they were not able to even neither able to write any offenses and nor able to read the chip for the information regarding the car. So, since the nature of the project driving license is such that the driving license issued by one transport authority of a state, the driver is entitled to drive the vehicle all across the country. Therefore, the interoperability all across the country was a paramount issue for the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, which could be made possible only if there is a standard. They understood the genesis of the whole thing. They approached us, NIT, to work out some kind of technology standards so that the same technology can be adopted by all the states, all the stakeholders, and the driving licenses which are issued, they comply to those things. So it took us a lot of efforts by a team led by the National Informatics Center, which included the industry, smart card industry of this country, and also academia like IIT, and we came out with the standards, which not only were the comprehensive standards, but also were the practically implementable standards, which were based on ISO standards. So it was something which was taken from ISO 7816, which is an international standard, and as many of the ISO standards, there were many gaps, there were many gray areas on ISO 7816 as such. What this team did, it line by line, word by word, examined all those standards and plugged the loopholes or plugged the gaps which were found in those standards, and because of which all the implementation earlier to that, which we are claiming that they are complying to ISO 7816, even after that they were not interoperable, and that was only because there were many gaps and the things were not so clearly defined in ISO 7816. That was actually something which this team took up as a challenge. They not only plugged those gaps, but also avoid some mechanisms which were absent in those standards to be incorporated into this Indian standard. And when we came out with the standard, it was the first of its kind in the world, which was a practically implementable technology standard for a smart card. The advantages were tremendous. The biggest advantage was that since it was an open source standard, there was no patent issues involved, there was no licensing issues involved. If I am a good C programmer and I have some knowledge of developing embedded systems, looking to those standards, I will be able to develop SCOSTA. SCOSTA was the name given to that. And the basic purpose of evolving SCOSTA was to free the technology from the hands of few handful companies. India had a lot of potential of software developers. By having this kind of standards, sky was the limit for the developers in this country to come out with their efforts, see the standard, start developing the programs, and get it implemented to various available hardware platforms. That brought in a revolution. Out of the 60, 70 SCOSTA implementations, 60-70% of that are Indian companies, which are not only leading in the Indian market, but also have started taking up the international markets. Because SCOSTA was something, which has been evolved from the international standard. It was something new which has been reinvented in this country. It was something which has been derived from the ISO and made a actual implementable standard. So that is why not just this country, but outside the country also there is a lot of motivation for others to adopt these standards. Now government, not NIC as such, not just evolve the standards and put it on the open source. It actually provided the required ingredients, or I'll name it the ecosystem, for any smart card based e-governance system to implement. So if we go indeed, we will find that it is not, standard is definitely necessary for the user to have a confidence. Okay, the things which they are going to implement is a standard one. It is not vendor locked. It is not technology locked, and there are n number of players which can provide that technology. So that's one very big confidence which a user can have, like NPR or PDS or RS anything. Then, in addition to that, any smart card based project requires few more things. A complete security framework. Because in every project which uses smart card, security is something which is the first thing required. Whether it is NPR, which is security stakes are very high. Whether it is PDS, there also we want to have it some security to stop the leakages. In case of project like RSVY, where we would like that only the actual beneficiary is able to get the service delivered, or any other payment, financial inclusion, or maybe e-passport, driving license, all these projects which is common to everybody is the security. They want to identify in a foolproof manner the beneficiary or the cardholder. So NIC, apart from evolving the standards, provided a very healthy ecosystem and all the required ingredients to implement a smart card based project. Those ingredients, for example, NIC has established a test and certification lab. For example, I am a developer who claim that, okay, I have developed my software operating system based on the standards SCOSTA. There has to be someone who can test it and say that, yeah, actually it is actually complying to those standards. Because if it does not comply to those standards, it may not be interoperable later on.
So it's a NIC lab which is...
Exactly. NIC has established a lab jointly with STQC, which is also a government body. So the technology part with us, the administrative and other legal and other things is from STQC, because they have been on this testing since that is their core competence. NIC core competence is technology. So we joined hands together and we came out with a lab which not only tests it, but also give a certification that this particular product, which is from this company, is complying to SCOSTA standards. So that was another thing which NIC did. And as I told, the Outbound Evolving Standard having a test lab established, NIC came proactively to support the user departments, NPR, PDS, RSBY, e-passport, to provide them a key management system which is a key to security infrastructure. Because issuing the card is just one thing, but then later on using that card for the purpose of either verification of the identity of the person or verifying the identity for the purpose of delivery of the service. In case of PDS, it is the commodity which is delivered. In case of RSBY, it is the health services which are delivered. In case of MNREGA, it can be a wages or something. So, whatever kind of service delivery is there has to be some kind of security infrastructure in place for a smart card to actually deliver the required benefits. What is key management system? See, once we issue the smart card, the purpose of that, one, that it provides a mechanism that an individual can be verified, identified and verified in a foolproof manner. After we have done it, when we do it, it is that the person who verifies, he verifies that he is the person who is claiming to be. Okay. Once that is done, then the second thing is to know his entitlement. How much quota of the food grains for the month is still left in his card, or in case of RSBY, how much is the amount of health service which he can still avail, and how much has been spent. So all that data also resides into the chip of the card. Since it resides on the chip of the card, it makes it possible to use that data without a network. Because it is written into the chip. Chip is highly secure, which data cannot be tampered on the chip. So we get a authentic data right at the place where the service is delivered. Yeah. So I'll show it. This is a national ID NPR card which has going to be issued. I think this is the postal.
Already issued.
This is already issued.
Already issued.
So this is the card which is issued. So this card at the place of service delivery not only allows me to authenticate the identification of the person, but also gives me some data which is written on the chip which pertains to his entitlement category, entitlement, how much he has availed, how much is left over. Right. So all that data which is securely written inside provides me now reading that data and allowing a authorized person to modify or write it back in this. That part can be performed only with a robust security infrastructure. So security infrastructure on the one hand provides the mechanism that no one is able to unauthorizedly access to this chip. On the other hand, the security infrastructure also provides the mechanism that the authorized people, for example the fair price shop owner or the hospital where the service is being delivered, they can access it. Right. And only they can do some modification into it, no one else can do it. So this infrastructure is a crucial for any smart card based or identity based application to work smoothly in the field. So these are the three things which NIC provided to all the user departments for any smart card based system to grow and flourish. And by the grace of God, now we are actually NIC is implementing the project like NPR with RGI, e-passport with the help of the e-passport story had been a little bit more challenging and more interesting also. There is an international organization called International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. They had evolved certain standards for the chip which is to be embedded into the back cover of the passport. Technology is same. Instead of embedding it into plastic, the same chip is embedded into the back cover of the passport. Chip technology remains same. So there, the standards which were evolved by ICAO, they were based on their requirement, and their requirement was that a passport which I carry to any country in the globe should be readable chip should be readable. So their interoperability definitions were limited only to the readability of the chip. Since their standards, technology standards were also based on ISO 7816, which we also adopted. So it made us, it made it possible to have a marriage of Indian standards with the ICAO standards. So, because Indian standards were also based on ISO standards, they were also based on ISO standard, but their standard was limited only to readable interoperability, and our interoperability was a superset over it, which not only provides the reading interoperability and verification interoperability, it also provides writing interoperability, chip writing interoperability. For example, if a contract has been given to a vendor who is responsible for writing data into the chip for 5 years, after 5 years it should not so happen that if the contract is gone, I should land up replacing all the chips. So, without any technology lock-in, without any, and that has attracted a lot of attention from the global, technology providers. And they had actually seen Indian experiment. Okay, India has come out, and believe me, the cost of the e-passport issued by the rest of the country, minimum $15 to $20. Can you imagine what is the cost of Indian e-passport? The cost of chip is just less than $2 or $3, and if you take the complete cost of the passport, it will not more than $5 to $6.
Yes, sir. The booklet and the inlay is only additional cost.
And without any compromise with the security, without any compromise with the quality, our passports are much better than many other countries, and the cost is so less. So this has been a motivation for other countries to learn from our this whole experience.